So we are going to go over the quiz that you took for me yesterday on 4.5 and 4.6. I'm going to be doing all of the problems so you can look to see which ones that you got wrong, and you could either fast forward or just kind of watch the whole thing. So the first one, solve the inequality. This is a compound and inequality. So you are going to do 4 is less than 3x minus 5, which is less than 7. So your first job is to isolate the variable on the inside. You're going to add 5 to all three sides. So that gives you 9 is less than 3x, which is less than 12, because those cancel each other out. Now I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. So 3 is less than x, which is less than 4. So the correct answer here would be D. Number 2, solve the inequality. This is still a compound inequality. Now these are ORs. So ORs, you do each individually. You don't get a choice. If you watch the video, you know it's not a choice. So the first one, I'm going to subtract 5 to the other side. So that gives me negative x is greater than or equal to 4. Now this is negative. You can't have a negative variable, so I'm going to divide by a negative 1 because this is really like negative 1 times x. So if I divide, that gives me x. Because I am dividing by a negative, beep, 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 warning, 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 I have to flip the sign. So when I flip the sign, that would make it less than or equal to, and this would be negative 4. Next one, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. I have 3x is greater than 12, divide by 3, and x is greater than 4. So you have x is less than or equal to negative 4, and x is greater than 4. So it looks like right here, C is my correct answer. Be careful, look at your signs very carefully. All right, number 3, solve the absolute value equation. So it's absolute value, but it's an equation. And what we learned is when you have an absolute value equation, you have 2 different sets of answers, a positive and a negative. So the first one, you just drop the absolute value signs. The second one, you drop the absolute value signs and you change 6 to a negative. So now I solve. So I subtract 2 and I subtract 2. So C is equal to 4. I subtract 2 and I subtract 2, and C is equal to negative 8. So the correct answer would be C. C equals 4 and C equals negative 8. Number 4, which is the correct setup for the absolute value inequality? So all I want to know is the setup. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a less than sign. So less than sign means it's going to be an and, or I remember them as lands, an L and then an and, land. So if it's a land, what you do is you take this original, you make the B a negative, you use the same sign, and then you drop the absolute value signs and copy the rest over. So the setup itself would just be negative 6 is less than x, which is less than 6, which is B, which really is the solution too, if you think about it, because there's nothing more you can simplify there. Okay. Number 5, which is the correct setup for the absolute value inequality? So now this is a greater than. So if it's a greater than, it gets set up as an or I like to remember them as gores, you know, like blood, guts, and gore. So that means I'm going to set it up as an or. So I take my original, and the rules for this is you're going to split it into 2. First one, you just drop the absolute value signs. Second one, you drop the absolute value signs, you flip the inequality, and you change 6 to a negative. So that's the setup. J minus 2 is greater than or equal to 6. J minus 2 is less than or equal to negative 6. So the correct answer would be A. Moving on, number 6. Solve the absolute value inequality. So now we're actually going to solve it, do more than just set it up. What I first need to do is I need to divide by a -6 to get rid of the stuff on the outside. I need to isolate my absolute value. So those cancel, leaving me the absolute value of W minus 3 is less than -24 divided by -6. Beep, 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 beep. I'm dividing by a negative, so I'm going to flip the sign, which would make this 4. So this makes this a greater than, and then that would be an or a GOR. So I'm going to do W minus 3 is greater than 4, and then W minus 3 is less than -4. So now I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and W is greater than 7. I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and W is less than -1. So let's see, W is greater than 7, W is less than -1, and it looks like there is not an answer here, so the correct answer would be D, no solution. And I think number 7, write and solve an absolute value inequality that represents the situation. When measured on a particular scale, the weight of an object may vary from its actual weight by at most 0.4 pounds. If the reading on the scale is 125.2 pounds, find the range of the actual weights of the objects. So, it was always the absolute value of X minus actual is less than or equal to what it varies by. So when we set this up, it'd be X minus the actual weight, which is 125.2, which is less than or equal to what it varies by, which is 0.4. So let's see. The only one that the setup looks correct is right here on B. This one's not correct, this one's not correct, this one is. So now let's see, if I set this up, it's a less than, which makes it a land or an and. So it'd be -0.4 is less than or equal to X minus 125.2, which is less than or equal to 0.4. So I'm gonna add 125.2 to all 3 sides. And so when you do 125.2 minus a 0.4, you're going to have a 124.8, which is less than or equal to X, because those cancel, which is less than or equal to, when you add 0.4 to it, that would be 125.6. So the answer is also correct here. So the only one that is correct is B. And then number 8 says, what are the 2 songs that were made for compound inequalities? If you watched my videos, I talked about 2 songs. And if you were in class with me, you got to see the videos for them. And if you watched the videos, if you watched my videos, you got to hear them in the background. It's actually B, Thriller and Chicken Dance. But just so you know, I counted any of these. So if you picked any of them, I gave you a point, but technically it was Thriller and Chicken Dance, but it was kind of a freebie for you. Now I want to go back through. As I was doing this, I noticed, I think when I solved this, Mrs. Smith made a mistake and did not flip the inequality sign on the -6 when I was making the answer key. So I believe on number 6, I said the correct answer was B, and it technically is not really even a no solution. It just is the answer is not here. A no solution would be that B is not greater than 0. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to give you 1 more point to your score. So whatever your score is, I'm adding 1 to it. So your lucky day. You got a freebie with the song, and you just got a freebie with number 6. Lucky you. All right, after you see this, let me know if you have any questions, and Be ready and prepared for your test tomorrow.